Hello, welcome. Happy whatever day it is. It's a great day, right? It's going to be a great day. Why? Because you're going to make it a great day. There's literally no reason why Monday has to be any different than Saturday or Sunday. It's your choice. That's the beautiful thing. If you're an entrepreneur, what really is a Monday, right? Let's talk about that, or maybe sometime. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about asset protection strategies that actually work. And I know this is going to be kind of like when your boyfriend's cousin's uncle's former first roommate gives you ideas on how to do things and they don't really know what they're talking about. That's when you've got to reevaluate your decision-making paradigm. So let's get started, shall we? Number one, choosing. Oh, wait. Wow. I forgot to introduce myself. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help you create the business of your dreams. So welcome. I go live Monday through Friday, except for this week. I'm going to have to bow out on Thursday and Friday. I'm sad. Wish there was a sad emoji, I think, maybe, whatever. Anyway, for this, I can't. I have jury duty. I know that's not relevant if you're watching this on the replay, but yeah, I've got jury duty on Thursday, so I won't be in. I won't be able to make it, unfortunately. So no lives Thursday and Friday of this week, but hey, that's okay. I'll be back next week with more content, more ideas, more ways to help you build your business legally, safely, and more importantly, hopefully without getting sued. That's your best option. Anyway, I digress. So the number one thing you need to do to protect your assets, have a business structure. I cannot tell you how important this is. Like, some people are like, well, yeah, no duh. But you'd be surprised. I was actually not arguing, but discussing with vigor, okay, with an accounting PhD. Okay, so sure, he's got counting down. Great. It was in one of my Facebook groups I was in. And he's like, yeah, I'd never recommend them doing an LLC because all of these bull reasons, just stupid reasons. And I'm like, why? Like, he didn't make, none of his reasons made sense, at least from a protection strategy perspective, right? So, like, I'm talking with him and I'm like, look, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an accountant, right? Like, I don't have a PhD in accounting. I've taken some accounting courses. I know more than most people, like a lot of people, not most. I should say I know more than a lot of people. But when it comes to accounting, if I have a question, I'm going to defer to him versus if it's a legal or, asset protection, like some sort of liability protection, I'm going to refer to an attorney for that, right? That's what we get paid to do, is find, protect your stuff. Anyway, but picking the right business entity is absolutely crucial if you want to protect your assets. Because if you have nothing in an LLC or corporation or partnership or limited liability partnership or other business structures, you have what's called unlimited liability. Okay. And that's pretty dang big. If you have a house, if you have significant assets, if you have assets that are not in a LLC, then you can lose a lot. Like, you can lose a lot. You can lose your house. You can lose so many things if things go terribly, terribly wrong. So, number one, if you want to really protect those assets, then you've got to start thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. It's a little bit like a chess match. You need to not just think about the moment, about the money that you're going to get from making this sale. You need to think about, okay, the money that I get from making the sale, and then how to protect that money that you get. Because unfortunately, not everything is always going to go your way. That's a given. And not everybody plays necessarily as nice as, hey, here we are. So you really got to make sure that you're protecting, you're thinking 3-4 steps ahead. Number 2, and this cannot be understated enough. You have to separate your business and your personal. Everything that's business should be in that LLC or corporation's name. Nothing should be in your personal name as far as that's concerned. Now, there are some caveats to that, of course, always. If, for instance, you have to personally guarantee something in order to get it, like to move your business forward, I usually recommend paying a better rate or a higher rate or finding an alternative, seeing if you can do something else. But if you absolutely have to and you cannot get around it, okay, like that should be your last resort. Otherwise, everything should remain in the business's name. It's how you build credit with the business. It's how you build your business, is by doing things. I would see if there's a structured way that you can say, okay, maybe we start out with 100% personal liability the first year, then 80% liability the next year, then 60, then 40, then, down to nothing after the 5th year, or however the deal's structured. See if you can get that personal guarantee off of there as much as possible, as soon as possible. But you need to keep everything separate. Your business should have everything separate from your personal. This is so crucial, because otherwise you can run the risk of having what's called piercing the corporate veil. The whole purpose of having a corporation is to limit your liability. But if you commingle assets, if you pay bills, your personal bills out of your business, you run the risk of having pierced the corporate veil. That doesn't mean it absolutely will happen, but you run a risk of that. So you're decreasing the effectiveness of your protection of your limited liability company or your corporation. The next thing, and this is, I can't state this enough. Insurance, this is your next one. Insurance is very useful. You should have insurance. You should not go without insurance. Okay. But just keep in mind that insurance is not the perfect solution. And my bonus tip, number 6, I'm going to give you 5. And then your bonus one, this one you want to stay for, because this is kind of where your magic is. This is where your special stuff is when you're talking about protecting those assets. But insurance, you need to have insurance. I know it's expensive. I know it's like I could be spending money on other things. And even worse yet, insurance doesn't always cover everything. If someone sued you or if something bad happened and it exceeded your policy limits, then you would get your maximum of your policy limits. That's number 1. Or, and here's why I'm not a big fan of insurance companies, they could deny your claim. So you can pay a lot of money in without a lot of benefit back. And, and they could still deny your claim, or they could cap your policy limits and you could still be liable for things. However, and this is the big however, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Is it perfect? Is it the idea? Which is why number 6 is so important. My bonus tip is so important. Okay, so please stick around for bonus idea number 6. Okay, insurance is not perfect. Ask any of my friends that are attorneys, ask any attorney, and we will give you horror stories about how they make life more difficult for people. Okay, they are not perfect, but you can't use it if you don't have it. It gives you options. It gives you opportunity to protect those assets. But keep in mind, it may not always, which is why I always like to characterize asset protection as a lot like onions and ogres, right? Think Shrek. Ogres have layers, right? Onions have layers, right? You need layers of protection, asset protection. You don't need just one. Anybody that tells you that they need just one asset protection strategy is selling you something, and it's usually not good. A good person, that's why I disagreed so vehemently with that PhD, because no good attorney is going to say, all you need is a limited liability company and that's it. Okay, no attorney is ever going to say that. A good attorney is going to tell you, here are the different ways to protect those assets. Here are the different ways to protect yourself from these things, right? So you want to have layers of protection for your business. Don't just rely on one single layer of protection. You want to have different things. Okay, then let's keep going. The next thing You're going to want to comply with taxes. I know, please, I know, taxes. It's like, why? But you need them. You need to pay them. You need to do your thing in paying for them, because inevitably, if you don't, you run a greater risk, because then you run afoul of losing your asset protection for the limited liability company or the corporation. And so I look at it as it's just a fee. It's the cost of doing business. It is what it is. It's not pretty. We don't like it, but you have to do it, right? Like, it's part of running a business, which is why you should, and I can't urge this enough, why you should make sure that your prices include all of that, right? You should be thinking about these things. You should be thinking about ways to protect your assets. But your prices, I had one client one time, she came to me before she was getting started, and the problem is that she was thinking about, oh, well, I'm just going to charge the same as what I charge without the entity. No, you can't do that. You just have to pay taxes. So you automatically have to charge more. Plus, people want a good business, right? They want to know that they're going to have a business. And if you charge less, then people are going to wonder why you're charging less. And you're going to want to make sure that you're charging the appropriate amount to include your marketing, your taxes, all of these things. Those should all be included in your budget, which is something that's so very important that you set up. I'm not going to go into budgeting techniques right now, but that's something you should consider while you're doing this, right? Is setting up a budget and making your rates charge accordingly. Okay. So the next thing, and this is probably one of the ones that gets people in trouble the most. So I'm going to let you in on a secret. If you want to avoid problems, evaluate the laws. Have an attorney do it. Comply with the laws. Please know that complying with the laws is not just recommended, but like employment matters get people in trouble more often than I could possibly tell you. If you don't pay your employees worth, if you don't pay them for breaks, if you don't pay them appropriate amounts in a reasonable period of time, it can hurt you a lot, right? Like, I get life happens, things aren't perfect. Pandemics happen. Okay, we're in the middle of one right now. I'm not suggesting at all that you should be scared of doing these things, but by complying with the law, the way the laws look at it is that your compliance is you're in a position of power. So it's your duty and your obligation to make sure you're complying with all the laws, whatever they may be, in your local area. So please, if you're unsure, consult an attorney in your local area, because that can be huge. That is where you can lose some money if you're not careful, because a lawsuit, because of something that you could have easily fixed. That's the thing most people don't understand. Most laws are easy to comply with if you're willing to comply with them, if you're willing to do the research to find out about them. But if you don't, then you run that risk, and it can hurt you a lot. So that is number 5. And here is the bonus tip. And I cannot stress this enough. I know people, it's like, seriously, this is important. I want you to, yeah, that's how important it is. I gave you the close up because I want you to focus right here, right now. Okay, here's the thing. People think about contracts and they go, those are boring, or why do I need one? And I'm not mocking. I'm just simply using a different voice for people. Okay, but let me let you in on a secret. Contracts are magical. Yep, that's right. I said it. Contracts are magical. Why are they magical? Because they can help you reduce your liability and protect those assets even further. Like, they can narrow that scope so that you can get indemnifications, you can avoid third-party liability. There's so many wonderful things that you can do with taxes. They are by far, not taxes, contracts. Woo! They are by far one of the most versatile parts of running a business. If you do not have a contract, please whether it's me or someone else in your local area, please, 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 please contact me today. And I don't mean that because I want to sell you something. I'm telling you that because those are where the magic is at in a business, because contracts are so able to be perfect. Like you can make, okay, maybe not perfect, but pretty dang close. You can make your contract say almost. There are exceptions, and we'll talk about those things at a different live. There are things that you can do with contracts that are just absolutely magical, that will help you protect that business and give you exactly what you need. So that's it. Those are my bonus tips. If I can't stress this enough. The people that succeed are the people that put the time and effort into these things. Like, you have to look at it and say, am I serious about running a business? Or am I just doing a hobby? Am I just doing a side hustle? Should you still protect your assets under those instances? Yes, but where do you want your growth to be? These are all things that you would do if you're running a business. If you're not running a business, if you're just doing a side thing, okay, well, I can understand that. But unfortunately, that unlimited liability that I talked about still attaches. So please, if you're running a business, like, I mean, a real serious business, not just something you're kind of sort of doing maybe when you feel like it, and if you're going to put it back down, if you're not, then okay, fine. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't want to invest the money in it yet. But the cost of a lawsuit far exceeds the cost of a good contract, far exceeds the cost of a business entity. I mean, no competition about that. It's like a tenth of the cost to do a good contract. It's a tenth of the cost to do a business entity. Even together, it's still cheaper than most lawsuits, right? So I'm not saying it'll completely negate the fact that you might get sued. Please, I will never say that all of these things will protect you from being sued. What they will do is, if you are sued, give you those layers of protection to make sure that you're hurt the least by a lawsuit. Okay. So, and in some instances, you can get a lawsuit dismissed if you have your right contracts, if you do it right. Okay. So there are some definite pluses to doing a contract and making sure you're protected in this instance. So, if you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and like. If you have any questions, please check us out on YouTube or Facebook, LinkedIn, fill in the blank. We're all over. Think Legal PC. We're everywhere. Can't say the next part because that would be probably infringing on a copyrighted phrase, but we'll nonetheless. Thank you so much for coming. I know some of you might have questions. Please leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them. And we'll see you next time. So we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.